this is our final week, our last class for the season. And unfortunately, we don't cover a lot on prajna or wisdom. We had done a lot of topics on morality, on precepts, on meditation, but not a lot on wisdom. But if you pay close attention to the topics inside of the meditation, there are a lot of relevance between the practice of meditation with wisdom, because meditation serves as a basis to uncover our inner or intrinsic wisdom. So the two of them are actually quite closely related. And this week's topic is opening the door of prajna, or the Sanskrit word for wisdom, or the causes of wisdom. And so our founder, Venerable Master Sheng Yun, mentioned that most religion emphasize faith and compassion, but only Buddhism recognized that we can only distinguish the right from wrong and truth from falsehood if we are able to develop wisdom ourselves. And only by developing wisdom can we eliminate affliction and also liberate ourselves as well as others in the process of our bodhisattva path. So Buddhism seeks to develop a special kind of wisdom that all Buddhists will call it prajna. Prajna basically is the Sanskrit word, and it means wisdom. And why don't we use wisdom instead, but use the Sanskrit word? Because we're trying to differentiate it with like the common wisdom, or the more conventional wisdom. So, but in practice, it refers to profound understanding of the reality that we perceive. And for this reason, since Buddhism's beginning is in India, the word prajna has usually remained untranslated out of respect for the unique quality of this kind of wisdom. So prajna, of course, is not information, it's not knowledge, nor is it a kind of philosophy, but it is the wisdom of life and of the universe that goes beyond the definitions of words or of duality. And so, as mentioned previously in other topics, when the Buddha became enlightened, he declared that all sentient beings have the Buddha nature, or the potential to become like the Buddha himself. This means that ordinary beings are the same as the Buddha, as equal as the Buddha, for they possess all the capacity to become Buddhas. So why then did the Buddha become enlightened and realize Buddhahood so long ago, while we are still here journeying through the cycle of rebirth again, and again? So this is because we cannot uncover, probably a typo, uncover our intrinsic nature. And just as the moon is obscured by clouds in the sky, the prajna of all of us, of ordinary people, is obscured in that way as well. It's not that Buddha nature is non-existent in among us. It's just that it is being obscured by our afflictions. So if we can uncover our intrinsic prajna nature and see our original face, or the Buddha face, or the Buddha nature, then we can live in this world not only with wealth and honor, but with unsurpassed freedom and liberty because of the wisdom that we have acquired. And so the Buddha spent 49 years teaching the Dharma, and 22 of those years were dedicated exclusively to teach on prajna. And more specifically, the records of this teaching is inside the 100 scrolls of the Mahaprajna Paramita Sutra, or the Discourse on the Perfection of Wisdom, if translated to English. And it is a volume that is more than any other sutras or any other topics or any other categories of teaching. So these teachings reveal our original face and the Buddhist view on human life as well as the universe. So prajna is the intrinsic nature of all living beings, not just human beings, but all living beings, all sentient beings. With Prajna, there is no duality between the living beings, the ordinary beings, and the enlightened ones, the Buddhas, or between ourselves and other people. So we should see all those as one. In fact, there is no such thing as you and me or duality in that sense. And the sutra says within the absolute, true reality of the provisional names for sentient beings and Buddhas no longer apply, because if you compare the two, both of them have the Buddha nature. One of those are a developed version of their Buddha nature, which is the nature of like the characteristic of a Buddha. The other one is an undeveloped Buddha nature that exists in all of us. So it's only provisional names given to us being normal people, sentient beings, and the Buddha being the Buddha. So if in the absolute reality that those two no longer apply, and within the nature of equality, the forms of self and others no longer present, because the Buddha, once he had enlightened into the ultimate truth, reality of the world, he sees that there is no such a definition as a self. You are not able to define what is a self if you just you just disassemble or deconstruct all of them. You will understand that there is no one single thing that you can point to and refer it to as a self. So in fact, the Buddha told us there is no self, or he teaches the teaching of non-self. And so prajna is the enlightened state of a Buddha. It fundamentally cannot be described, nor can it easily be discussed, because it's supposed to be experienced rather than being told to, as like how knowledge is. To try to explain prajna, you have to break it down into 4 levels, as what our Venerable Master had did for us, each of which has its own feature. And every level, it's like another step up from the other. The first level of prajna is right view. Second, dependent origination. Third, emptiness. And the fourth, being the truest form of prajna, that is the prajna of the Buddha. So the first level of prajna is right view. So superficially, prajna means wisdom, or you can just put prajna equals to wisdom, though they are key differences between them. Prajna is perfect, whereas wisdom can sometimes be flawed. Like conventional wisdom, you hear, okay, this is how you do it. It might be flawed. And it may also lead to delusion, as in you believe in that. It might turn out to be untrue because of all the disinformation that is going on around us. Prajna is always beneficial, while a smart person with a lot of wisdom might use that wisdom to outsmart other people, which is, again, in the case of disinformation. Prajna is everlasting, and it is the way things are, as in the Buddha, because he had enlightened and see things in a non-dual way, he sees things as it is. So it is the way things are. And prajna can be quite difficult to explain, but there is an analogy that is a good place to start. Imagine taking photographs of an outdoor scene or any scene. By using a camera, we can take beautiful pictures of the mountains, rivers, grass, but we must adjust the focal point or the focus and aperture so that the picture appears sharp. It's a little bit hard to understand how everyone is using a smartphone these days, but that is how it's been done using a camera lens. Prajna is like correctly adjusting the camera so we can all see phenomena clearly. To have right view is to see things correctly and turn away from wrong views, and to truly understand the cause and effect on the mundane as well as a supra-mundane level. And those two, basically mundane level, is what we are experiencing. Supramundane, the state of enlightened beings such as the Buddha. There are many Buddhist teachings which talks about ways to understand reality, such as the teaching on karma, on impermanence, emptiness, as well as the three Dharma seals. We'll all go through those at a certain time. And we may not go through all of them this season because this is the last class, but we will definitely go through some of it in the next season, or the one that is coming. And each of these teaching is part of what it means to have right views. Those are all the teachings that exist in the scriptures and the sutra, and it serves as a way for us to correctly view the world with the right perspective, the right view that had been provided by the Buddha. So an individual's idea and principles can influence his or her own entire life, and thus it is very important that these principles are correct. It should be correct, and it must be correct, or well, it should be correct. And once it's not correct, then a lot of problem will occur. So some Buddhists encounter injustice or hardship and completely lost their faith in the way and give up. That is really common. If a person is sort of like coming to the temple and bringing offering every day, like the Buddha or the Bodhisattvas a celebration, and they are sort of trying to give an offering and hoping for good health, wealth, prosperity, and all those things. But for our founder, he sees that as sort of like a way to bribe the Buddha or the Bodhisattvas in order to get like good luck. That is not the way how it works in Buddhism, or in fact any religion at all, because all of the karma that you have, it is all from you. It is all from your past deeds, and good karma will produce good fruition. And so it should all be coming from you rather than coming from a higher power or something along that line. So these people voices all sorts of complaint against Buddhism and blame the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for not protecting them. So this is not the right view. It's not the Buddhas or Bodhisattvas' fault if you run into some difficulty. You should take those opportunity of difficulties as a way to improve yourself and to learn from those lessons and to be able to be a better person. So right view means having such faith in the truth of your principles that they cannot be shaken by any difficulty you may encounter. So rather than weakening it, adversity should strengthen our faith, cause us to hold fast to our principle, and motivate us to protect the common good and declare the truth fearlessly. That's to say, if you believe in karma, you believe that everything that you did for a good cause, the good deeds that you do, although you may face difficulty at the present, but when the right causes and condition comes, it will all come into fruition. It will manifest as a good effect, as a good result. So we must clearly understand that the world contains both good and bad, that karma and the effect of karma exist, and that there are past lives as well as future lives, and that there are both ordinary and also noble sages. In the mundane level of right view, we should be able to discern between good and bad. What is a good deed? What is a bad deed? And if we're able to cultivate, we can be able to elevate ourselves from ordinary people to the noble ones, to the noble sages. And we must know what is virtuous and non-virtuous, what is sacred, profane, what is past, present, future, and what are the effects of karma. So this is on a mundane level. We should understand all of those. But the next level of prajna is the level known as, is the level known by the Sravakas or the noble ones that are not yet Buddha, but they are still enlightened people, enlightened beings, Sravakas, Prayeka Buddhas, or Arhats. There are three kinds of beings who have attained a high level of cultivation, who are a step above of ordinary people. And because of this, they have a superior understanding of life, universe, and all phenomena. This level of prajna is characterized by an understanding of dependent origination. So dependent origination in Buddhism is described in the 12 links of dependent origination. We have yet to have time to go through that. But basically, if you have time, you can go and have a look, understand what are the 12, and in the future, we will go through them if we have that opportunity. So dependent origination is a fundamental Buddhist teaching and describe how all things in the world arises due to cause, conditions, and ceases when proper conditions are no longer present. So it's basically describing how karma works, or why are we still in this cycle because of the past effects, past causes came into fruition with the present effect. So dependent origination is one of the features that makes Buddhism different from all other religions, because dependent origination is saying that you are the master of your own destiny. You are the person that causes whatever good or bad they're happening to you at the present moment. And the good and bad that you do at the present moment will affect your future. So you're basically the one person that could actually affect your own destiny. And dependent origination is one of the features that makes, it explains that nothing in the world comes from nowhere. It definitely has a cause. And because of that cause, it has an effect, nor can anything exist by itself. For all things exist in reliance upon many causes and conditions, and these causes and conditions to rely upon previous causes and conditions. In fact, it all goes in the cycle. And this complex set of interdependent relationship explains the existence of the universe, the existence of life, the non-duality of the middle way. It explains human life, as well as explain all phenomena in this universe at large. So this teaching is the very thing that the Buddha realized the night of his awakening, when he gazed up upon the stars and understood the doctrine of dependent origination. And since all things arises due to causes and condition, for us to live a happy life, we must create good causes and condition. If we wish to have good relationship with others, we must create connection with them so that we can meet them again in the future. So if you want to stay with a person, you will definitely need to, be good with them. But contrary, if you don't like a certain person, if you continue to hate them, they will still be with you in the future in another form, as in you will still continue to hate each other and into the future. So when we are faced with the negative effect of the past karma, we can understand the causes and conditions that led to our current outcome. The point, of course, is not to stubbornly become obsessed with karma or to go around blaming everyone but ourselves. This only needlessly entangle us in more layers of affliction and obstruct us into being able to be enlightened. Instead, understanding the relationship between dependent origination and karma allows us to cultivate good conditions and form good connections with other people. So this can be further explained with the 12 links of dependent origination, but we'll definitely go through that at another time. And the third one is emptiness. Emptiness can be understood because of our understanding of dependent origination, that everything has a cause and condition, and even the causes and conditions itself has their own cause and condition prior causes and condition. And because of this, everything is being built up with multiple factors and multiple conditions. We can see everything as being built with emptiness, as in at its core, it has no solid value. It doesn't have a definite value to it because it's been built up with multiple factors. So that is the next level of prajna and is experienced by the bodhisattva, and it's called emptiness. When many people hear the word emptiness, they think of nothingness, but that's not at all what emptiness means. Emptiness is a profound philosophical concept in Mahayana Buddhism, and when used in the context of meaning of emptiness, it's much more closer to infinity than nothingness. So it should really mean that although because of this emptiness, there are multiple and endless possibilities that come out from it rather than nothingness. So existence is only possible because of emptiness. There must be empty space first before it can contain all the myriad forms of life in the universe. If there is no empty space in your wallet, it cannot hold anything. It cannot hold any cash. So if a house has no empty space, no one can live in it. If our nostrils have no empty space, we cannot even breathe. So by understanding the nature of emptiness, we can understand the truth of universe and of life itself. Emptiness is how we can discover the truth of inherent non-existence of all things. As in existence and non-existence, we could see them as a single concept or understand them from a single lens. As in, we can understand from the perspective of physics that matter can be converted into energy, and every energy can also be made into matter. And so this is also quite in the line of the understanding of emptiness. So what exactly is emptiness? Emptiness is dependent origination. Emptiness is a right view. It's also non-dual, and it's also prajna itself. So emptiness is limitless, like the number 0 in mathematics. If you put a 0 after a 1, it becomes 10. If you place another 0 after that, it becomes 100. And with more 0, it becomes 1,000, and then so on and so forth. You can keep adding zeros forever until you reach astronomical figures. And emptiness is all inclusive and ever expanding. It is like reciting the name of Amitabha Buddha. And we always, in Chinese Buddhism or Mahayana Buddhism, you always recite the name of Amitabha Buddha. When we say Amitofo or Amitabha, it can give an infinite numbers of meaning. Like in the context of our temple, we always use it as a way of greeting other people. So when we give something, we will say Amitofo or as an expression of gratitude, as in thank you. So if you get promoted or become rich, you would say Amitofo to wish the other person well. When someone passes away in a funeral, you would say Amitofo to express your condolences. So Amitofo or Amitabha is in truth just as emptiness is to truth. Amitofo is all of existence, and for it can be whatever you say it is. It can be expressed as in what your intentions are at the present moment. In the same way, emptiness is all of existence, for it can be whatever you like it to be, as long as you have a clear understanding of emptiness and a clear understanding of prajna. So all of existence is born from the emptiness of the universe, just as all things on earth relies on air to breathe. Existence is built out of emptiness, and the relationship between emptiness and existence is like that of an open palm and that of a fist. When you close your palm, it becomes a fist, and opening your fist reveals a palm. So in the same way, emptiness becomes existence through the coming together of causes and condition, and existence reverts back to emptiness when these causes and conditions disperse. So emptiness and existence arise and ceases in this way of an unending process of change. When you understand the relationship between emptiness and existence, you will see that although they are different, yet they are also the same. They're the same, yet they are also different. They are two states of a single entity. You can be able to say that. So the relationship between emptiness and existence is like the process of making gold jewelry. So ore has to be mined, refined, and shipped to a factory to become gold. And the gold is then sold to a jewelry shop where it is made into all kinds of rings, earrings, necklaces, all different ornaments. Through the gold, although the gold has gone through many changes during this process, the substance, the element of gold itself never really changes. Emptiness is like gold, and existence is like all the beautiful things that can be made from gold. There's only one kind of emptiness, but there are many kinds of existence. So emptiness is the substance, while existence is its appearance, its form. Emptiness is like the stern father, while existence can be compared to a kind mother. Father and mother join together to give birth to us, just as emptiness and existence harmonize together to create all phenomenons. So this is why in the Heart Sutra, as we have always chanted, emptiness is form, form is emptiness, emptiness is no different from form, form is no different from emptiness. All phenomena arise due to dependent origination, and because of this, they are empty and lack of an intrinsic nature. There's no self-nature. There's no factor that you can point to as a self. They arise only temporarily and then pass into extinction, into cease its existence. This temporary existence that arises through dependent origination is but a temporary appearance. In reality, all phenomena are inherently empty, and thus they neither arise nor pass into extinction, because as mentioned with the example from physics, matter, nothing get wasted in the universe. Matter turns into energy, energy into matter. And all phenomena are empty due to dependent origination. Yet it is because of their empty nature that they are able to arise through dependent origination. So emptiness occupies an important position in Buddhist thoughts. So for it is a truth that cannot be invalidated. The doctrine of emptiness has greatly contributed to humanity, for an understanding of emptiness allows us to see through delusion and construct existence from within emptiness. A worldview based on emptiness can refine and improve the value of human life. And so the integration of emptiness and existence is known in Buddhism as the middle way or the middle path. Rather than to see everything as in it's all empty, it doesn't have any value, we should also take a look at all the merits of existence that are happening all around us. For example, we might have be able to understand the concept of emptiness through our meditation, through our serenity and tranquil states of mind. But every week there is a different event and a different task for us to take on. And so we need to appreciate that side of existence as well. And so that is what we call it, walking along upon the middle path, not to be attached to any certain points of extremity. So this kind of wisdom allows us to have direct insight into true reality. With this understanding, we can know that whatever comes up, it has not happened for some random reason, but has occurred due to universal principles, due to the causes and conditions and the whole cycle. And likewise, when we experience the results of our karma, we can know that every effect has a cause. It happens for a reason. And since we understand cause and effect, we will never blame another person other than ourselves, and know that we can only seek answers and resolve our own problems by looking into their fundamental causes, by looking internally rather than to seek externally. And so the treatise on the perfection of great wisdom, a treatise on the Mahaprajna Paramita, or the perfection of wisdom, states that the perfection of wisdom is the true reality of all phenomenon that cannot be negated or destroyed. With prajna, one can realize the inherent emptiness of all phenomena that arises from dependent origination. Thus, from that process, you will become a Buddha. So prajna is the true cause of enlightenment because of your ability to understand true wisdom or prajna. That is the thing that causes you to be enlightened. So prajna is actually quite important in the whole practice of Buddhism. Prajna is the complete and bright wisdom of enlightenment, and is the way that all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas realize the true reality of all phenomena. It is a kind of wisdom which is pure and without distinction, that turns away from all confused and deluded thoughts. It is a kind of wisdom that is true and formless, and allows us to know that all phenomena are inherently empty, and there is fundamentally nothing to attain. So an ordinary person who has the right knowledge and right view can be said, to a certain extent, to have developed prajna. That being said, prajna can only truly be realized by becoming a Buddha. So, for example, what we've mentioned with right view, if you have right view, at least on a perspective of an ordinary person, from a perspective of mundane truth, you are at least in the world, in our society, you're able to discern between what is truth and what is untrue. And so you are able to sort of choose your sources of information that you want to believe in. You're able to make decisions for yourself rather than be affected by other people. So on the mundane level, you are a person with wisdom because you are able to discern for yourself what is true and be able to make decisions for yourself. So that is why the Lotus Sutra said that only between a Buddha and another Buddha can the true reality of all phenomena can be fathomed, because it is only when you are at that state that you are able to communicate with another person with that state. Anyone can truly be able to fathom that true reality. So the treatise on the perfection of great wisdom also says that among all the various kinds of wisdom, prajna is foremost and unsurpassed, incomparable, unequal, and superior beyond all others. So right view, dependent origination, emptiness, those are still in terms of wisdom, there are still skillful means for you to understand prajna, or the truest form of wisdom, through certain perspectives, through certain points. It is not the full view, not the full manifestation, or not the fullest understanding that the Buddha is able to perceive this reality. Only prajna of a Buddha can be able to be discussed with another person if that other person is also a Buddha. So only a Buddha and another Buddha can truly be able to fathom this truest form of reality. And so prajna is the Buddhist level of wisdom, and it is the state of non-duality that encompasses all, both the essence and the appearance, both emptiness and also existence. In fact, you can almost say that when the Buddha sees everything, he sees both its appearance in front of them, and they also understand their causes, their dependent origination, their emptiness, their causes and conditions, their essence of the past, as both the present as well as what future they will become. So when the Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree and looked upon the stars, he realized the dependent origination of prajna. In essence, prajna is the root of all phenomenon and the nature of all beings, and our endless life as well. The form of prajna is that of a beautiful flower, a shining light, or a compassionate mother, and also a boat to our rescue. The function of prajna is the ability to use wisdom to humorously and ingeniously solve problems, not just problems of other people, but most importantly, our own problems. An individual with prajna is able to remain open-minded and can comprehend and perceive all matters. So he or she can transcend distinction of self and others, right and wrong, existence and non-existence, good and bad, and be able to just abide in the true state of reality without being in the dual state of good or bad. So in short, we as Buddhists cannot do without, as we have started this whole season, this whole course, with the concept of the threefold training. So as Buddhists, we cannot do without morality, meditative concentration, and most importantly, wisdom. Thousands of Buddhist sutras speaks of this threefold training at every turn, and generations of Buddhist masters has promoted this practice, and most famously, Kumarajiva of 4th century, he is a monastic who translated many Buddhist sutras into Chinese. He himself is a Central Asian. He's not exactly Indian, but he is a monk from Central Asia. And he once said, holding the precept is being able to subjugate affliction to lessen its power. So that's the first step. You need to uphold the precept. That is just to subjugate it, just to bring its power low one notch, just lower it a notch. Meditative concentration is being able to block affliction totally, like a mountain of rocks cutting off a river. And wisdom, but we also know that mountains of rocks after ages, eons, can also become a valley that will let a river through. So wisdom is the ultimate truth that's being able to totally destroy or eliminate affliction so that absolutely nothing is left. And that is how we are able to be enlightened. And only the state of enlightenment can assure our liberation, our true liberation. And the threefold training is the combination of developing morality, meditative concentration, and wisdom, and it's uniquely suited for humanity. This is the teaching that the Buddha had taught to human beings specifically. The sutras say that human beings have the three characteristics. They're not shared by any other beings in the six realms of existence, and the whole of Buddhist cosmology. That is, we have the pursuit for purity and the patience to be able to being diligent, and we are able to accumulate wisdom. And so our pursuit of morality, meditative concentration, and wisdom are linked to these three unique characteristics. And wisdom are linked to these three unique characteristics and give us the best access to the way or the path that leads towards enlightenment. And the threefold training, the threefold practice is specially suited to eliminate greed, anger, and delusion. That's the three sources of our affliction: being greedy, being angry, hateful, and also delusions, the deluded thoughts. If we are able to eliminate them, then we are able to arrive through its enlightenment. By observing the precept, we foster good habits like heartward thrift, joyful giving, compassion, which can counteract our tendency to be greedy. Meditative concentration can purify our thinking so that when we encounter adversity, we will not have thoughts of anger. And applying prajna allows us to transform our delusions into that of enlightenment. So the threefold training is a good way to approach the vast expanse of Buddhist teaching. For example, the threefold training is also another way to approach the Noble Eightfold Path. So the training of morality is the same as cultivating right speech, right action, and also right livelihood. And the training of meditative concentration can be said as right mindfulness and right meditative concentration. And training of wisdom is also the same as that of right view as well as right thought. And the last part of Noble Eightfold Path, right effort, encompasses all of those three trainings, as in if you don't have diligence or the right effort, nothing can be achieved in this world. So the threefold training is also a way to pursue another set of teachings in Buddhism, that is of the sixth perfection, as you will see that the perfection of wisdom or perfection of prajna is one of them as well, but there are six in total. That is giving, morality, patience, perseverance, meditative concentration, but last but not least, that of wisdom. So the first four of the perfections, giving, morality, patience, and diligence or perseverance, are all parts of our training of morality. And the last two of those perfections, that is perfection of meditative concentration and the perfection of prajna, correspond directly with both the training of meditation and of wisdom. Threefold training focuses equally on cultivating merits and wisdom and emphasize both the practice and its understanding. It is only by diligently cultivating morality, meditative concentration, and wisdom, the threefold training, that we can eliminate our greed, anger, and delusion, and to secure perfect blessings for our life. And yeah, I believe that is all for today. And that is the last part is generally to wrap up the reason why is it so important for us to be able to go through the threefold training, because that is the path that all Buddhists or all people who wanted to reach towards the same goal as the Buddha, the same goal of enlightenment, they will definitely need to go through this threefold training, because that is the threefold training is the path. It is the path that will lead you towards enlightenment. And the Buddha and in all other scripture, it even argued and have such a discussion that other than the training of the threefold path, there's no other way that you can reach towards the point of enlightenment other than just the threefold training. Only by the threefold training that you can arrive to the goal or the effect of becoming an enlightened one. So I think basically that's the reason why I've chosen this book. for all living beings, or because it serves as a guide for us to be able to go through the threefold training. And of course, I have mentioned we don't have a lot of time to go through the third part of the threefold training, that is of prajna, or of wisdom. But I think a lot of, in the Venerable Master's writing, a lot of the topics that is covered in wisdom is more to do with practice. Because what is wisdom if we are not able to put it into practical use? And if you're able to look into that book, the final part of the threefold training is the Venerable Master teaches us how to put the things that we had learned into different aspects of life, of as well as society as a whole. So basically that is it for today. I had intentionally left a lot of time for us at the end so that we can have a lengthy discussion, because this is the last day of our class. Yes, so let's have the questions rolling. Yes, Cassandra. So in our previous topic, especially the topic on Chan, or of meditative concentration, Chan in its current current impression for like East Asian Buddhists, if you say Chan or Zen, it's not just about meditation. It's about how you view life. And for a lot of Chan masters, they are not bound to their principles, and they are not too so rigid for the things that they had understood, that they have. A lot of those are enlightened people, and they live out their life in this lively way, in an almost humorous way. They could joke about Buddhism. They could, when they teach their student, they won't use conventional ways as shown in previous classes. That use creative ways to try to guide them or lead them towards enlightenment. And so for the teaching of Chan, or Chan Buddhism as a whole, because the Buddha had, or actually the elder Mahakashapa, the disciple of Buddha that had passed on the lineage of Chan, had said that Chan should not be, it's not something that is laid down on words. It should be a transmission, a connection between people and people, from the master to their students. It should be candid. It should be lively rather than just laid down in words. And so that is what Chan is. It's not you sitting there silently and without any emotion. It's about how you live out your life with that understanding. With that understanding, how can you benefit other people, and how can you show them the way, and how do you inspire them? So most of the time, it's not about just reiterate all the things that is in the scripture, in the sutra. It's trying to sort of lead them into the way and sort of nudge them in the right direction. And so basically, that's what it means to be able to humorously live a life of Chan, or be able to creatively lead people, or teach people, guide people towards the path of Chan. So yeah, basically that's what it's about. Yes.
For next semester, are we going to repeat the same topics this semester, or are we going to have?
Well, we will be using another book. I've looked through a lot of the different writings of our late master, our late founder. And there's a book that is called Where is the Way? It's just start with a question mark. Where is the way? And the Chinese, if you're trying to translate from the Chinese title, which basically where do we seek humanistic Buddhism? As in, where is the path of humanistic Buddhism? Because humanistic Buddhism is the kind of Buddhism that our founder had promoted. It's also a very lively kind of Buddhism. And so what I'm trying to do is to cover the part that is supposed to be taught in this semester. That is wisdom of the threefold training of humanistic Buddhism inside the whole book, because that whole book is basically talking about how can we live our life with the wisdom of humanistic Buddhism. So where's the way? That is the name of the book, but I'll definitely have more information when we're starting with the registration of our next season. Yeah. Yes.
What's the difference between the Arhat and the Bodhisattva?
So an Arhat and a Bodhisattva. So this is strictly speaking from a perspective of Mahayana Buddhism. So Mahayana Buddhism, we encourage all Buddhists, all practitioners to strive for the highest or the best. That is the state of Buddhahood. And traditionally, or in earlier Buddhism, a lot of people will say that Arhat is the highest form of enlightenment that you could ever achieve. That is true during the Buddha's time, because there is no other Buddha. There's only thousands of arahats, thousands of disciples that with the guidance of the Buddha, a self-enlightened one, and he's able to have all the different disciples, but they only have achieved towards arahat. And so during that time, they think, oh, arahathood, it's the highest form of enlightenment there is to have. But later generations, they started to think, why stop at being just an arahat? Because arahat in the Sanskrit word is a hearer. You hear the Dharma, and then you're able to practice according to it, and you're enlightened as a hearer. But a Buddha is a self-enlightened one, a person that without teaching, because the Buddha was not taught Buddhism by another master. He went through 6 different masters, but they don't teach him about Buddhism. They teach him how to meditate, and that's it. He needs to figure out the path for himself. And so the Buddha is an enlightened one. So later generations thought to themselves, why don't we strive for the Buddha? What are the process from a Sravaka to finally becoming a Buddha? And so there are later generations that found out there are another volume of texts that actually said specifically this process of becoming a Buddha, the path of Buddhahood. And so that become Mahayana Buddhism. Of course, there's a lot of debate, especially in Theravadan circles, or those that do believe that Sravaka or Arhat is the highest level of enlightenment. They will say that those doesn't exist during the Buddha's time, because it's not passed down through the generation and generation. It exists. There are a lot of legends about it, but those texts emerge in a later generation, and they taught the process of how to become a Buddha. So that covers how after your enlightenment, there are other things, not just the perfection of wisdom, but perfection of other things, of generosity, of patience, that enable you at your final life in this world, being able to be self-enlightened. And after you're self-enlightened, you still have the compassion, the ability, and the willingness to teach the Dharma to other people. And so that is the difference between a Buddha and a Sravaka. And a Sravaka, they're enlightened, but they might believe, or they said to themselves, this is my final life. I will have no further lives. And that is where it ends. But for Mahayana Buddhists, after that, there is the path of Bodhisattva. And only when you arrive at Buddhahood, that is the truest form of nirvana. So basically, that's the two. Of course, that is strictly coming from a perspective of Mahayana Buddhism. Perspective is important. Okay, right. Any other questions, especially from our classmates from on the Zoom? Okay. Yeah, sure. You can go first.
Right? What is the best karma you can do?
Well, in terms of, because we talk about the 6 realms of existence, Buddhist cosmology, the highest that you can achieve to is actually the celestial realm. But celestial beings, that they are still inside this cycle. A lot of religion will take that as eternal life, because it's a very long period of lifetime compared to a human life, but it still comes to an end. And in the scripture, it tells of, I think, 5 signs of decay of a celestial being. When a celestial being start to see the signs, it might be their time already. So the celestial being, it has a limit to their time, their lifespan as well. So that's why the Buddha teaches a way to be out of this cycle, be without a body, be without a bomb, be without this existence, just pure consciousness. And so that can be roughly described as nirvana. So you could say that being reborn as the celestial being is the best kind of karma, and being reborn in hell, especially a Vichy hell, that's the hell with the most suffering. It's the worst, and that is basically reserved for people that hurt the Buddha, killed an arahat, killed your parents, bring disharmony to a sangha, and spread false teachings. So these kinds of so those are the 5 worst karma, the worst deeds, the 5 bad deeds that will lead to the worst karma. So Jessica, you mentioned about, what about Arhat being more about self as opposed to saving others? Yes, you could say that. As in, these Arhats, they might not be able to have the opportunity to know about there is actually a path after Arhathood. And so a lot of people do perceive becoming an Arhat as being more selfish rather than caring for other people. And comparatively, a Bodhisattva will seem much more compassionate and willing to help others. But I think it's only fair when both of them are being taught the same teaching. They both know that there is Bodhisattva path. But if that person knows about Bodhisattva path, like all of us here, but still inclined to just trying to achieve only arhathood, then you can say that, well, maybe this person is more selfish than willing to saving others or help others. So as hopefully that answers your question, Jessica. And as for Marion's question, the new semester next year, it'll probably start in March. So I would say late January or in February, you'll definitely get more information about the next semester. Yeah. Right. Any other? Yes.
So for good and bad karma, there's like descriptions of what is good, what is bad, but then when it comes to like prajna, with emptiness, there's like good and bad is independent, which like implies that there's an emptiness to karma as well. How does that play into it? Like, I feel like I've heard a lot of people talk about or be concerned about, I don't know, min-maxing their karma, essentially, like being the most efficient. But then it causes anxiety. So I guess I'm just wondering about like, because then there's the other group of saying like, well, it's empty, so don't worry about it. So
Okay.
what is the skillful way to deal with that?
So in emptiness, if you're able to reach towards that point, it's more about your intentions rather than you're not too concerned about how other people view you. I mean, morally or ethically, you might not seem to do the right thing, but when your intention, your heart, your mind is at the right place, you won't be concerned with that. For example, there was a Japanese monk called Master EQ-san. Basically, he has an anime of his own. There was once that he was given an infant baby. Someone had left an infant baby at his door, and the mother is just saying that I don't have money to raise this child, so can you raise him for me? And he just go about his days just caring for this baby, and people will start like thinking, why is this monk like caring for a baby? Is this because of some what do you call extramarital? No, is this monk having an affair and got a baby, which is not really a good, it's not a good optics for the temple. But he carried on because he's not concerned about that. He's not concerned about how people view him. He's just carrying on caring for this baby, this life. And when up until a certain point that this woman had found another person, he got married and just came back and to say that, oh, where's my baby? He just, oh, this is yours, I'll just give it back to you without asking anything. So, and that's how a Chan master does it. I mean, he's not too concerned about how other people think. He just does it because he thinks that that's definitely the right way to do it. And there is definitely no good or bad. Maybe people will say that it's good or bad, but to him, it's neutral because he knows where his intention is. He is doing the right thing. And but for us that still has not arrived there, I think for us that are still really concerned about all these like societal values, it's important that we know what is acceptable and what is not. And when we are able to do that, at least we will have a peace of mind, as in a lot of morality or precept has to do that we are able to have a peace of mind so that when we meditate, we are not burdened by all these karma, all these deeds that we do. We might be doing the right thing, but we might be too concerned about it. That's also not a good thing because we don't have the capacity to deal with it. And when you're able to observe like the fundamental like all the precepts, the moralities, at least when you come for retreats, you go for meditation, you have a peace of mind. You know, at least, well, you don't have the guilt, and you won't need to think too much about what other people are saying behind of you and all of those. And so that's why it's a threefold path, a threefold training. A precept or morality leads you to a good precept, or a better precept leads you a better meditation. A good meditation, better meditation leads you better at developing your wisdom. So that's why it's a threefold training. But it actually doesn't end there. When you have wisdom, it's easier for you to understand about morality, as in you're not burdened about morality. You are able to more purely observe morality because you are not burdened by, societal values. And when you're not burdened by societal values, and you have that wisdom to be able to see through the duality, it's actually quite helpful in your meditation as well. You won't be distracted all the time with all the things that are happening in the mind, and it's generally a positive process that in this threefold training, it will lead you closer and closer and much faster towards becoming the Buddha. Yep. And any other questions? We can go on, but I have another thing at 2:30, so we still have quite a lot of time. So let me see in the chat box. Okay. Anyone has a question? No? You have other stuff to go on. Okay. All right. So I think that would be it for this semester. And of course, next semester, we'll inform everyone probably around February. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Hope everyone have a great day. All right. Thank you. And happy holidays, everyone. And
Thank you.